meeting of the Leicestershire and Rutland Combined Fire Authority. This meeting is being broadcast live on the Council's YouTube channel and will also be available for viewing after the meeting, and the link is on the CFA website. Due to the current situation, the majority of members of the Fire Authority are joining online, with the exception of Mr Rushton, who is in the room. Can I please ask that all officers and members mute their microphone until they wish or are invited to speak, and to use your video camera for the duration of the meeting. If members or officers wish to speak, please ensure that you use the raise hand function and not the chat facility. If at any point the webcast fails, we will have a short adjournment. Please stay online while the problem is resolved. If a vote is required, you will be asked to indicate if you are for or against, and please speak clearly when asked. Please ensure that mobile phones are switched to silent. To start with, I'll do a roll call to make sure that all CFA members can see and hear everyone else, and that we can see and hear them. Councillor Barton.
Councillor Barton's having trouble getting on. This is Colwinda.
Oh, is she? Right. Kat, could you try and resolve that for us, please? I'll come back to Councillor Barton in a moment. Councillor Bentley.
Thank you.
Councillor Bentley?
Yes, I can see and hear everybody, thank you.
Councillor Ball?
Councillor Bentley.
Councillor Ball?
Yes, absolutely fine, thank you.
Mr Bolter?
Yes, I'm fine. I can see and hear everybody.
Mr Coxon?
I'll be about 3 hours. Well, just phone the factory, Jimbo.
Councillor Fonseca?
Yes, I'm here.
Mr Harrison?
Yes, here, thank you.
Councillor Johal?
Yes, I'm here, thank you.
Mr Kaufman?
Yes, I can see and hear.
Mr Licorice?
Yes, okay, I'm here.
Mr Mullaney?
Hello, yeah, I'm here, everything fine.
Mrs Newton?
Yes, I can see and hear, thank you.
Mr Parton?
Did you say Mr Parton?
Yes, Mr Parton.
Yeah. Good morning.
Councillor Ray Battier? Councillor Ray Battier?
He should be joining us. We
He
spoke
is
this morning. He may be having difficulties.
Yes.
I'm here, actually.
You are, good. Yes, thank you.
Good.
Mr Rushton?
Yeah.
Councillor Thalakdar?
I'm here, thank you, Anna.
And Mrs Maggie Wright?
Here, Anna, thank you.
Have we got Councillor Barton? I think we've got connection issues, but I think we'll carry on. I'd like to welcome Mr Coxon to the CFA meeting. This is his first meeting.
Yeah, thank you, I'm here.
So I now move on to the first item on the agenda, which is the election of chairman. Do I have any nominations for the position of chairman?
Move Councillor Rushton.
And can I have a seconder for that,
Can I
please?
second that, please? Second that, yeah.
Right, sorry. So who moved? Sorry, who nominated? I didn't quite. Was it Mr Coxon?
Yeah.
And Mrs Newton seconded.
Yes, yes.
Right, I now hand over to Mr Rushton.
Right, good morning. Thank you for re-electing me. Let's move on to election of vice chairman, and I'll move Councillor Singh Johal.
I'll second that.
All happy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Agenda item 3, apologies for an absence. I've received apologies from Alison Greenhill, who, as you know, is our auditor stroke accountant, and Colin Sharp will be representing her today. We have no others, do we, Anna? No. Thank you. Declarations of interest. Does anyone have anything to declare in respect of items on the agenda?
No.
No, good. Urgent items, I have none. Chairman's announcements, they've been circulated. Hopefully you've all got them. If you have, I won't bother reading them.
Right. Good.
Has everybody got them? Good. We'll take those as read then. Thank you.
Yes.
Public participation, CFA rules of procedure. Rule 9 members' questions. No questions have been received. Agenda item 8, to confirm the minutes of the meeting of the Combined Fire Authority held on the 12th of February 2020 is correct record. These are on pages 5 to 14 of your agenda pack, and I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 12th of February 2020 be taken as read, confirmed and signed. Mr. Johal?
Yeah, approved.
All happy?
Happy with that, yes.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on. 9, we now consider the minutes of the Corporate Governance Committee held on the 22nd of January 2020. These are on pages 5 to 18 of your agenda pack, and I move that the minutes of the meeting held on the 22nd of January 2020 be noted. Who can second those, please?
I'll second that, Chairman.
Thank you very much, Ken.
Yes.
All happy? Very good. Moving on then, item 10, our first item is a report on the schedule of nominations and appointments for the municipal year. This is on page 19 to 22 of your agenda pack. Lauren Haslam, the monitoring officer, will present the report. Over to you, Lauren.
Thank you, Chairman. Very short report, members. Simply asking members to note the nominations and appointments as set out in Appendix A, and that those nominations and appointments be approved.
I move that the nominations and appointments to the committees of the Combined Fire Authority set out in the appendix to the report be approved. Councillor Johal?
I'll second that, thank you.
All happy? Very good.
Yes.
Thank you. Next, we have the report on the revenue and capital outturn 1920. This is on pages 23 to 30 of your agenda. So over to you, Colin, to present this report.
Okay, thank you, Chairman. Yes, this report sets out the revenue and capital outturn for the financial year that ended on the 31st of March 2020. As you'll have noted, there are a number of recommendations which are to note the outturn position, to carry forward capital funding that was not spent on the planned capital project, to carry that forward to the current financial year 2021, to transfer funding received late in the year from the government for COVID-19 into an earmarked reserve to enable to meet COVID-19 related costs that happened in the current year, to transfer the remaining revenue underspend to the capital fund earmarked reserve to meet the assist with meeting future capital pressures, which I believe the committee will have discussed previously, and also to note the update on the Fire and Rescue Indemnity Company, which provides the insurance arrangements for much of the authority's risks. The forecast underspend reported in this report is in line with the reports to the CFA and Corporate Governance Committee during the course of the year. The report details the main aspects of those. There are underspends on employees, which is around firefighters on training and development salaries, retained firefighters which weren't recruited during the course of the year, but where the budget needs to be retained for future years, pending organisation resilience preparation for the integrated risk management plan, etc. It wasn't necessary to make the planned contribution from reserves to assist with the cost of temporary employees, which has made additional one-off money available in the future. Also, as will be seen on page 25, some variations on premises, transport, supplies and services. The report then moves on to the capital programme and lists the capital outturn, and on page 26 picks up some of the key variances on the capital programme, which again I won't go through in detail, but happy to take any questions on. The report then moves on to reserves on page 27. This assumes that the balance of the revenue underspend is transferred into reserves, and the table at paragraph 15 sets out how the authority's reserves look, which total just over £15 million, split into the various different types of reserves that are held, and the key ones of those are detailed in paragraph 16 on page 27. Just to say that the general reserve currently stands at £2.1 million as set out in paragraph 17, which includes contributions to provide cover against cost of strike cover in the future. The report then finishes off just by confirming there were no departures from the Treasury Management Policy Statement, which we're required to report to the CFA, and then just a paragraph on the performance of the Fire and Rescue Indemnity Company, which the service is a member of, which is a local authority fire service mutual. So that concludes really my presentation of this report. Hope that was helpful and happy to take any questions on it, Chair.
Very good, thank you. Betty, you're first.
Yes, can you hear me?
We can, yes. Betty.
Yes. Okay, thank you so much. Just two questions. I am slightly concerned about the high level of underspends, and my question is, can we have assurances that there has been no impact on service delivery in terms of revenue, and whether or not in terms of capital, whether we are actually ensuring that we have the right amount of equipment that we need. Thank you.
Rick will answer the administrative question, then we'll come back to the accountant people, the money question. Rick.
Thank you. Oh, sorry.
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you, members. In terms of answering that question, there's been no impact on service delivery through underspend. Some of the problems with recruiting staff have been exacerbated by the current situation, and that's a problem that we are trying to deal with. As you will be aware, certainly from an operational response perspective, we've had 13 new firefighters join the service during the COVID lockdown, and they have completed their training and will be joining stations in the next few weeks.
Did that answer both your questions, Betty?
Yes, and I'm quite happy to hear about new staff coming into the service.
We'll keep you updated. Betty's a long-term member. Maggie, you're on.
Thank you. Betty's actually asked the question I was going to ask, and Rick has actually answered the other part of the question that I was going to ask. So thank you, Nick.
Great minds think alike. Okay, I'll move the recommendations A, B, C, D, E. Can you second them, Councillor Johal?
I'll second that. Thank you.
Are we all happy?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
Moving on then. Agenda item 12 is the service update during COVID-19. This is on pages 31 to 38 of your agenda, and Rick will present the report. Rick.
Thank you, Chairman. Members will be aware through the updates that I've provided you over the last 12 to 14 weeks that the activities of the Fire and Rescue Service have been impacted on by COVID-19. This particular report gives a summary of some of the activities that we've been undertaking during that period. It's not a full blow-by-blow account, but it gives you a flavour of the involvement that we've had at a local level. Hopefully you'll see the range of issues that we have been involved with has been very significant, and that has benefited our community. So that's a really positive element of it. One particular area I think is worth focusing on, bearing in mind we've just done the outturn report from the Treasurer, is on page 34 to 35, which identifies 2 additional pots of funding that we received during this period. The first one, which was for support of our activities during the COVID crisis, which was central government funding. We've had confirmation that that money is coming through to us. And the second one, which is bullet point 13, is in relation to the Grenfell Tower and the expectations of government on us to undertake more work on high risk and high rise premises. And that's work that we've got in hand in terms of how we will utilise that money and where we will put additional focus on to give residents who are in those buildings assurance about their living accommodation. I'll take questions, Chairman.
Well, at the moment we don't have any for you, Rick. Okay, so I'll move that the update on service delivery and the service's response to coronavirus pandemic be noted. Councillor Johal?
I'll second that.
All happy?
Yes.
Very good, thank you. Moving on then. 13, our final report on the public part of the agenda is the appointment of the Assistant Chief and Fire and Rescue Officer. This is on pages 39 to 40 of your pack. Do you want to go out, Callum, for this? I think it's probably best. Callum, because it relates to Callum, will go out of the room, and then I'll call Rick. Thanks, Callum. Okay, Rick, over to you.
Thank you, Chairman. Members, this report is a little bit timely in terms of a number of events that have gone on. If you go back to late 2018, I advised you that the then Assistant Chief Fire Officer we'd approved a secondment to another service. He was successful in securing that position and gave us his final notice in late 2018, which led to us advertising in 2019 for Assistant Chief Fire Officer. I think with some foresight, we'd put out the advert for appointable people, and the Employment Committee met in February to April of 2019 to interview a number of candidates for positions. One person was appointed in early 2019, and Mr. Callum Faint was noted as an appointable person, and we held him on file. During that time, you'll be aware that there was a vacancy at the area manager position, and I negotiated with the service that Callum Faint is from, and Callum transferred to Leicestershire Fire and Rescue Service in his substantive position of area manager, and he undertook then a role of Assistant Chief Fire Officer when we knew the vacancy was coming to fruition. And of course, this paper now asks the Employment Committee to ratify its decision in April of last year to appoint Callum Faint as the permanent Assistant Chief Fire Officer as effect from April 2020, apologies.
I'll move that. Councillor Johal?
I'll second that.
All happy? Thank you very much.
Yes.
Do you want to fetch him back in, Rick? Okay, before we go to the private session, let's just deal with agendas 18 and 19. So agenda 18 is urgent action, well, there isn't any. And agenda 19 is the date of next meeting. So as you can see, it'll be 23rd of February, 10 a.m. And we better schedule it as a Microsoft Teams meeting just in case. If anything changes, which I doubt, we'll let you know. Okay, so we now go back to the main agenda, which is the agenda item 14, which is the exclusion of press and public. So I now move that under section 100A of the Local Government Act 1972, the public be excluded for the following items of business on the grounds that they involve the likely disclosure of exempt information. That's it, isn't it? So I'll move that. I haven't. Hang on, I've got some bits missing.
Paper missing.
I know I've got a bit missing. Yes, I've got that.
No, it's that bit.
Oh, right, I've got to. Oh, sorry, I've got to read all this. So I've moved the first bit. So 1, for the future of day crewing plus item as defined in paragraph 4. For the report of the employment panel, chief officer and rescue officer local salary review as defined in paragraphs 1, 2 and 3. And for the report of the appointment of the interim chief fire and rescue officer, urgent action taken by the monitoring officer and treasurer as defined in paragraphs 1 and 2, and that in all circumstances of the case, the public interest in maintaining the exemption outweighs the public interest in disclosing the information. So I'll move that. You okay to second, Councillor Johal?
I'll second that, yes.
Okay, all happy. We've just got to wait now to make sure we've got no members of the public on. I'll wait for confirmation. Just checking.